everyone, this is Steph from Art by Bedell, and I am here once again to bring you another process video in Junk Journal January. And today is the 19th and we have borders for our prompt. So I have chosen these two pages and I've already prepped them with gesso. I need to put something under my book to prompt it up so I get a flatter surface to work with. So this one is a ledger paper, and this is an old vintage book paper here, a page out of a book. And I'm going to put some papers underneath just for a little protection on my other pages. And so what I want to do is I want to create a nice border around the outside edge so that I can have the inside for journaling. I'm going to use watercolors to begin with. And I have my Arteza palette here. It's 48 colors maybe. It's a nice palette. I like the Arteza watercolors. And get myself a little thing of water. All right, keeping with the color scheme for our journal, if you've been following along, you know that it's blue and orange mainly. It matches the outside. The inside, I've also do some pink and green to go along with, oops, I'm sorry, this piece of fabric that we have here on the inside cover. So it has like a lot of colors in it, and I like that. I generally go more neutral, but I'm playing with some bright colors. So I'm going to begin with, let me see if I can read my color chart. I can tell you what colors that I have that I'm going to be using. So I'm going to be using, the blue that I'm going to choose is going to be a cobalt blue. Yes, a cobalt blue. And then I'm just going to put some color around the outside edge, not in like any specific way or anything, just adding some color here. The beginnings of our border here. And probably, you know, the color will also go into our page a little bit. Sammy's over in the corner thinking that she should help herself to some art supplies and see what she can create today. I'm thinking that she's already created enough with the green paint she got into the other day. She kind of snuck it out from behind me and had herself a good time with that tube of paint. We had green paint splattered. Okay, so there is our blue. Now, I don't want mud, so I'm going to start with drawing in between my layers here. And so I'm thinking today I kind of want to go with some blue and green and then maybe some pink. So the green that I want to use is going to be a sap green. And then I'll just add, oh yeah, that goes pretty with that blue, doesn't it? Add a little bit of green here and there. Not as much green as what I did with the blue. And then, of course, when I do the pink, it'll be even less of the pink than what I did with the blue and the green. It'll kind of be my complementary color, I guess. So yeah, I'm really liking that green on this page. Okay, we'll get that dry. And then for the pink that I want to use, I am going to use a rose color, I believe, or kind of like the crimson red too. Maybe I don't want that dark, so let's go on up to the rose. Just put a little on this paper. Yeah, that's the color I want to go with right there. And then just add a little pink here and there. Like I say, it'll be less of the pink. Now, as far as what this looks like here in the beginnings, I mean, I think that's pretty. I don't see anything wrong with that, but I think this is the neon pink. But as far as the looks of anything when you're working on mixed media or whatever in the beginning, don't let it rattle you. Don't let it shake you up. Just continue. Just keep going, guys. And somebody asked me if I ever do anything ugly. Yes, I do. And my ugly tends to show up in these beginning stages of my work. But if you keep pushing, keep working, and eventually you're going to get to something you like. Now, I won't say 100% of the time everything is a win-win situation, because it's not. We can't control it like that. It's not. But if you are enjoying yourself and being in that moment and letting go of any inner critic voices that might be popping out and saying, it's ugly, you know, you better quit this page and go on to something else. Don't do that. Just continue working. You never know where you're going to end up. Like I say, not every page turns out to be a masterpiece, but there should be something good in every page. So let me get this dry. Okay, now with that being said, I have projects that are downright ugly, and they are still ugly. They are in my practice journal, in my art journal that's just for me. This is Junk Journal January. This is my journal that I'm going to be posting everything in. And so generally, yes, everything that comes from this should have some degree of me being contented with it before I post it. I can post uglies. I mean, I can show you some uglies in my art journal that you're going to go, whoa, girl, what were you thinking? Well, I was thinking of playing and practicing, and that has a place in my art journals that are my personal art journals. So anyhow, here we go with this. Now I want to get some pens and do some pen work. And I have these, let me tell you, they are called Pilot G2 pens. They are nice. They're nice pens. They can be found in Walmart. They're just a nice pen. So I'm going to start with some green here. This one shows me it doesn't have much ink, so we'll see how far it can go. But I'm just going to make some scribbly lines on this. I mean, nothing that really means anything or has any shape or desire, anything that, and my ink is really low in this pen. You know, what I'm thinking was, I opened this pen up the other day, and I seen a well here, and inside that well is a little cap that comes off. This cap comes off, and I'm wondering if I can fill this with some India ink and reuse that. I'm going to try that someday. If it works, I'll let you know. So anyhow, that really is an empty pen. So we'll just set that aside. Now let's see. We have some pink here, and you can see that has some ink in it. And let's maybe make some more shapes that might have a little bit more definition to them, like some circles or just whatever you want to offer onto your page, whatever you feel like drawing at the moment. This one doesn't seem to be wanting to work real well. Let's get my page out here. I mean, it shows it has ink in it, but it just doesn't want to be working real well. And that could be because I may have ruined the tip on it, and I don't know if that's anything that can be cleaned or not. So let's just put this pink pen away. I'm hard on my materials. I'll be the first to admit it. And there we go. Now we've got some neon pink going on here, and we'll add some circles to our background. Just random, just wherever my pen happens to fall, not really thinking about it too much, just wanting to create, in the end, a pretty border. And these circles, I mean, I could spend the time and I could make a precise circle for every one, and that would be relaxing, just to sit and just to be mindful of each circle and make nice little circles. When I'm doing videos, I tend to be kind of a little bit more in a rush because, you know, you guys don't want to sit here for hours and hours and watch me make those tiny little circles. So I'm a little bit more, maybe, I wouldn't say stressed, because I don't feel stressed right now, but I feel rushed. I tend to do better if I can not have a video on and just be sitting with my journal, maybe watching a movie, maybe listening to a podcast, maybe just playing ball with Sammy, and I can be sitting at a table and be, you know, drawing or whatever while I randomly just throw a ball for Sammy. But okay, so now I'm going to take this ink and I'm going to make some little lines. Now, if I were stitching, I could call these seed marks. Not stitching. Now, stitching would be fun. I think if you've been watching me, you've seen my stitching techniques and how well they don't really go. Like I say, if I'm in a hurry, things don't work quite as well for me. Now, when I'm doing these little lines, yeah, I could get lost in this moment right here and just sit here and just draw little lines and make this pretty little border. And yeah, you don't want to see me stitching little lines like this unless I didn't know nobody was watching and wasn't filming or taping or whatever you want to call it, my video making here. Then it always goes much better, much easier. Always. All right, so I think a little bit more down here in this corner of the mark making. And the mark making can also go out into this white where I'm going to journal too. I mean, there would be nothing wrong with that. How about I'm always adding this little script stamp. I just love the script stamp. So I think I'll take my black StazOn that I have handy right here and ink this up and put a little border, oh yeah, right around the edge of that, and get some on the top and on the bottom. And like I say, not all of this is going to show in the end. I didn't get it stamped very well up there, but that's okay. It'll be fine. So why do it? Because it adds depth. It adds depth to your project. Don't know about you, but if I'm looking at a project and if I can see beyond what is just on the top layer, if I can see down in, it's like it just draws me right in. It's like, oh, wonder how they did that and that, and boy, that look is really pretty. And I probably better dry this ink first. It is permanent ink, but I'm going to dry it first. All right, I want to take some gesso, and I feel like I'm in the mood today. Instead of just trying to blend these with some gesso, I feel like I'm in the mood today to make some gesso circles with my fingers. Just some finger painting, and I can put them wherever I want, just in the mood, and I can just dab it if I want. That one, because of the texture of the paper, it was kind of like wrinkly. The gesso did this strange thing with my finger where it made like a flower. That's pretty cool. That's pretty random, wouldn't you say? Now these ones are picking up some of the ink because those pens I told you about, they are apparently water-based, because even though I've heat set them, they will bleed. Not real bad, but they do bleed. You can see they've picked up some color here. And some of that might be watercolor too, down in there, because the watercolor can react again also. Now that definitely was the blue ink right there. And I'm not minding that. I'm thinking that is really kind of pretty to get some of that color into my little circles here. So I'm going to encourage that by circling a little bit more with my finger and getting some more of this color brought out. All right, so there's some circles, and I think, well, no, I'm not going to go on the inside because I'm kind of leaving this a little bit textured. My paint is a little thick on my finger and it's not smoothed out real smoothly. And then that will take a few minutes to dry, so I'm going to go at it with my heat gun, and if it bubbles, that's just going to be an added plus, and it's going to give me a little bit more texture. So I'll be back. All right, those are dry, and my next step, I think, is to do some more line work, and I think I want to maybe circle those circle to circle. I have a pastel pencil, and it's a black one. I'm just going to go around the outside and then take my finger and smear that and go around each circle and highlight them. I can also hit those with a little water and just blend out that pastel a little bit more. It gives like a little halo around the edge of my dots. Can all use a halo, can't we? Now I have mentioned that keep pushing forward, keep moving, but when your heart tells you, okay, this is good, that looks good, you've added enough, it's time to stop, then listen. I think generally you'll know when you're pleased with something, just like we know when we're not pleased with something. I think generally you know when you're pleased. Now, does that mean that everybody's going to be happy with your decision. Oh, probably not. But it's your book. So you stop when you want to stop. I have at points gone too far. And then that page was kind of like, you know, really ruined. Well, one time I went too far and I sat there and I looked at that and I'm like, I don't know if there's any saving to this. So it had just like all this color and it just didn't have any rhyme or reason. So I made some mask, I think out of leaves or something. I cut out some paper mask, laid them on my page, and then painted black over the whole thing. Took my mask up and I had these beautiful colored leaves. So I saved it. So there are ways sometimes where if you think you've ruined your page, you can save it. Or you know what? Turn the page, start all over, and go at it again. All right, so I'm happy with this. I need to dry this, and then I want to add some focal points. Next thing I want to do is to draw in some loose botanicals, and I want to go with like leaves. And for the pen that I want to use, I would like to use my Posca paint pen. It's a black. This one, nib on it, it's PC1MR. Let's see. I don't know if it has enough ink in it. I want a bold line. That's kind of not very bold. Let's open up this new one here. I tend to keep my pens, I tend to keep new ones on hand. All right, so get that activated. Shake it up. Activate it, and we have ink now. So what I want to do is to just draw a couple ferns, or a couple leaves on here. So I'm going to just take my pen and be loose about it. Okay, it's pretty simple. I think anybody can do that. And then over on the other side, maybe we'll make just a smaller one. And now I have a choice of, all right, I can leave it the way it is. I want it to be bolder. Against all that color, I want it to be bolder. So I'm going to start over here on this side. Let me cover up this side because my arm will probably rest there and I don't want to smear anything. Maybe I'll get a marker that has a bigger nib. All right, and then we're just going to color these in. Now, I wanted to say that you don't have to have the materials that I have to make a page like this. I used watercolor. Use acrylic paints. Use whatever medium that you might have that you want to use to put some color on. If you don't have gesso, use white acrylic paint. Gesso is a little bit more translucent, but you could water down your paint, right? And if you don't have a stamp with on it, do some messy writing. Do some asemic writing. And just get some writing on your page. And what else have I used here? My charcoal, my pastel pen. Again, you can just go around the outside edge of your circles. It doesn't have to be a pastel pen. You can just use some black paint and go around, water it down, go around the outside edge. For my pens that I have, if you don't have those pens, use maybe some Tombow markers. Use, you know, if you have any kind of markers, maybe you just have, you know, one or two colors of other pens. Maybe don't use pens at all. Maybe just use a pencil and draw some shapes in. Pencils leave nice marks. They were there before the markers. So, and then as far as what I'm doing here, you can cut images out of a paper, magazine. You could, if you want to draw these, you could just use, you know, any kind of marker. Maybe you have some Sharpie markers that would work good for this. Think outside the box. Again, you could take a brush and you could paint these on with some acrylic paint. So always think about, okay, what's in my stash that I could use to make what she's doing? I'm at the point this year where I'm thinking, okay, I really don't need anything new. Wonder if I could go a whole year. Now, this is a big challenge for me. Wonder if I can go a whole year without buying new supplies. Now, that does not include glues. That does not include any of my basic supplies, like glues, like my black paint markers, whatever is a basic supply. That does not include. What it might include is a new set of watercolors. I don't need a new set of watercolors, guys. May I want them? I might. Do I need more acrylic inks? No, I don't need more acrylic inks. I have the basic colors. I could make colors. So I'm going to try to go this year without adding new supplies. We'll see. I'll let you know how that works for me. So we have this, and I think that, let me get this paint pen shook up here. Oh yeah, and let's do some splattering. Oh yeah, well that was more splatter than I wanted, but hey, what are you gonna do, right? We're gonna leave it, that's for sure, because if we go trying to change it, it's gonna smear. Now let's see if I can get my white pen. My white pen had dried up, and so for me to go like to a big store, I'm talking like a Michael's, Hobby Lobby, any of those type of stores, it's an hour one way to get there. So it's not always an option for me, and when I do it, I like to make a special day of it. And so I haven't gone up there to redo my white ink pen. So what I did was I went to Walmart and I got, these are called painter's markers. And I'm going to see, I may have used this one up already. If I can, yeah, it's not going to splatter. But another thing that you can do to get some splatters is I can take my fan brush or whatever brush that you have, and I can get it wet in water, and I can take a little gesso from my jar, put it on my lid, add a little water, get it pretty liquidy, like that, maybe a little more, and then I can splatter with that, and that's usually I get a better splatter when I use this. When you rely on your pens like I did, you know, you're going to get some big splatters usually. So these are nice contrasts to go along with my big splatters. If you water it down too much, then your splatters will dry and they'll just be like cloudy. So there we go. I have a border that I'm fairly happy with. It didn't take me 100 years to make, although we could. Okay, I'm going to set this aside so that this can all dry, and I feel that it's completed and I'm happy with that border. I thought I would show you a couple more of my journals and show you some more borders that I have done. Now this is a Strathmore journal. They're my favorite journals. I don't have one currently that I'm working in. This one started in 2015. You're going to see some uglies here. Let's see, you're going to also see, okay, here's a border, a nice border I just did with squares and rectangles and some markers, I'm guessing, some ink and some markers. And this border was made with, I think, white gesso, and then I punched out, this is a stamp, and then I punched them out and layered them in there. Let's see, another border. Here is a border, again, with some white rectangles and then some stamping over top of it. I'll try to get down in here a little bit better. There we go. And, okay, here's my favorite border that I've done of all time. Now, I spent hours on this page. The background is a jelly print. And then I just drew the girl, and the hearts were drawn. The words were drawn in the border, but I spent hours on this border. We've got an outer border, then we've got an inner border. It's just one of my favorite art journal pages that I've done. This one has a really nice, I like this one too. The border is at top, and then Zentangles hang down, and I like that one too. And then I put a border around this square. So there are different ways that you can do borders. Let's see, here's another border just with some lines and dots, and that I believe was another stamp that I had. Here's a border where I just put a border around it, and then I drew these in, and that was just done with a marker. And more rectangles and circles for this one. Now this is one of those pages where I had all this color and then I didn't quite know what to do with it, and at the time I thought it was ugly. So I made some mask out of these little leaves here, and I laid them down, and then I gessoed the rest of it, and then I took my mask off and I added my border, and I had my leaves then at that time, and that turned out. So it went from an ugly page to something I was very content with. This has a tiny little border up here. Again, I spent hours on that border, and this border is just with some stamping around the edge with words. Let's see here. Here's some border again that I just took a white pen and added around that page. So there are some nice borders here. Now, about my ugly art, this journal has quite a bit of ugly art in it. Let's see here. This one is ugly. It didn't come together at all. It's just ugly. Let's see. And this journal I spent a lot of time practicing in. Here's another ugly one. Yeah, it's just ugly, guys. So I'm not sure. I think I just added my 2 focal points and then said, okay, that's it. I've played with that long enough. It's done. This one I don't feel is finished. It doesn't have a focal point, and I'm not real impressed. I did a lot of playing with colors in this journal, colors that I don't normally play with. Again, this one is not finished. It's not bad, but it's not finished. This one is just ugly. Just practicing again with different colors I don't normally play with, that I probably wouldn't probably play with. These 2 are okay. This one, ugly, just ugly. Nothing was coming together, and I just said, okay, that was it. I mean, I learned from it and moved on. Another one that it might have potential, I'm not sure. I think I started with a background. I think if you look deep down in there, you'll see another background, and didn't like that, so I added blue, and then thought, okay, well, that's that. These are, oh, yeah, they're ugly. They're not pleasant at all. This is terribly ugly. Here on this one, well, this one I was playing with black and white, just playing, and I didn't worry about whether it was ugly or not. It just playing. The same with this one over here. I was just playing with some colors, and I thought, well, that just doesn't bring anything to mind for me. And then one day when I opened up my journal, I had it upside down, and then I seen it. Here's the light coming through the trees. We're out in the dark woods. See, and here's the little creek that's flowing by with the shrubs and the little brush around it. And now it's one of my favorite ones. And I did it upside down the other way, and didn't see any good in it until my journal was turned upside down. And then I seen that, yeah, this is pretty nice. So you turn things around after you, don't be afraid to maybe even as you're working, turn things around and come at it at a different view. Again, not finished, didn't like the colors, so I didn't finish it. I was done. The green, the yellow, I don't mind green and yellow together, but those were not good. Not finished, again, the colors just were not speaking to me there. This one is kind of dark, but I liked it because I liked all the texture in it. So, yes, I do ugly work. Yes, if I put time into it, you can make really intricate borders or whatever. Or you can make what we made today, which is a very simple border that's done like in probably a third of the time than what those more intricate borders did for me. I hope you have enjoyed this lesson today, and I hope to see you again soon, and you have a wonderful day. Bye now.